Hey, welcome back to the bench. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining the channel. Hope you're all well. Today on the bench I have something that's been waiting for a while. This one's been purchased quite a while ago by me. I bought this off eBay. And this is a Harman Kardon hk880 VXI. It's been sitting in the back waiting for its turn on the bench, and here it is. Now, something interesting happened the other day. I wasn't really paying attention. My subscribership rolled over 10,000 subscribers, so thank you for that, guys. I appreciate it. The channel's growing slowly but steady. So this is kind of like what I give back to you guys. My channel does make a little bit of money. It comes in, and also you guys donate to my channel. Sometimes you guys will throw me a few bucks here and there, and sometimes it comes through PayPal. Sometimes it goes through YouTube. But I do appreciate all the donations you guys give me. I'm not here on this channel doing it for the money. You guys know that. I don't ask for any money from you, and I don't want to hustle any products. I make sure that I don't I don't have any sponsors. I've been approached many times for sponsorships, and I turn them all down because I don't think it's something that adds value to the channel. I want to just create videos of repairs for you guys so that it helps you guys out. And this is one of my things that I've taken the money that people have donated to me, and I've purchased this off eBay, and this is one of these eBay purchases. That's what I do with the funds that come in for the channel. So this is my thanks to you guys. I purchased this, and we're going to have a video on it. Came in from eBay. I can't remember. It's been sitting here for almost 2 years, I think. Jeez, I should go look it up and figure that one out. But we're going to do a video on this one. I really like the VXI series receivers from Harman Kardon. I've covered the 440 and the 550 VXIs, and I actually use a 550 VXI in my garage, and I think it just sounds great. But this is the 880. This is one of the bigger brothers. Now they do make a 990 VXI, a little bigger yet. A little more power. This thing, I don't know what kind of power it puts out, 60 or 80 watts a channel. It's a big boy, and it's fairly dirty. Actually, it's not that dirty. I've seen a lot worse. It doesn't stink like some of the ones I've seen before, and it's fairly clean. So we're gonna go through and get this thing going. I don't know what's wrong with it. I think it has problems. We're gonna figure that out. So let's go look to the features of this. We have a chunk power button on the side here, headphone jack, speakers 1 and 2 switches. You can have them either independently or both together. We have 6 presets here with a memory button, and this button switches between AM FM tuners. We have 2 lamps here, one's high voltage, one's high current. That'll illuminate depending on how you have the amplifier set up. Along the bottom we have our bass, treble control, pretty basic stuff, balance, nothing spectacular here. A subsonic filter, because this does have a phono input, I believe. Yes, it does. And we have a mono switch. Over here we have 3 LEDs. They're not marked as to what they do, but I have a feeling it has something to do with one of these tape monitors, maybe. We have an external signal processor switch that I think it breaks out on the back panel, and it's probably more like a tape monitor, but you could put a equalizer or DBX machine in there or something like that. It does have 2 tape monitors already. We have a source, remote, VCR1, VCR2. Okay, so that would be our tape monitor, I believe. And this is our record out selector, so we can go from source 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. And this is our function switch. Has audio visual, AV, tuner, remote, CD, and phono. This remote has me. This is a remote unit. It has a display, it has a signal indicator with 3 LEDs, and then it has a little remote window here. I don't think you can see it. It's a round window. I think that's the remote receiver. tuning up and down buttons, seek button. So you got the option of seeking or just manual tuning. And then we have down in the bottom right, we have a big volume knob and a loudness button. So it's not really heavily optioned, but it does have a lot of interconnects for a lot of equipment. Let's look at the back. On the back we got phono, CD, AV, audio visual. So that could be your auxiliary. Either of these could be your auxiliary or tuner. Well, it has a built-in tuner, but 2 tape loops, 1 and 2, and then it has the external processor loop here with removable links. I don't think this is the same as a preamp out, main amp in. This is probably deeper back in the circuit where there's it's not affected by the volume control. And then we have some audio-visual stuff here. These are video connections. This is a very early AV receiver. And you can see they have composite input for VCR 1, 2, and AV. And then you can have a monitor out. And you can switch between video sources using composite, which is very, very primitive, early method of getting audio in and out of here, along with your audio, video along with your audio. 75 ohm coaxial input for the tuner, and then we have 300 ohm twin lead for input for the tuner, and then we have a ground and an input for AM long wire, and or we could put a loop antenna between the two, and here's a holder for the loop antenna, which didn't come with. Binding posts for A and B speakers, and these are not banana style plugs, because if I try putting something in here, it does not go. There's no connection on the inside of that hole. So these are strictly insert from the top and twist them down, which I don't mind these. I like these. I haven't sold my soul for banana plugs yet. 2 courtesy outlets, 1 switched, 1 not, and then we have our speaker operating mode, which sets up the power amplifier for either 4 ohm mode or 8 ohm, and there's no, usually they have a little blocking device so that you can't switch it unless you loosen the screw, but in this case it's either missing or they felt it wasn't necessary. Okay, I think we're all powered up and ready to go here. Let's turn this thing on. We have our high voltage, high current lamps, signal strength meter. I'm feeding a signal to CD. And it's absolutely silent. Oh, let's turn speakers. Okay, we're picking up tuner hiss. That's interesting. CD. Our lamp just came on. Okay, tuner's working. AM. AM. We have no AM antenna on the back. That's why we're getting any AM reception. AV. Just getting some hum. Let me try moving our connections. So we're drawing about 45 watts here. Just sitting idle. I need to move this to AV. And we are on AV now. Getting anything on this thing. Remote. CD. Phono. We should hear a noise difference. I got this cranked full volume. We should hear a noise difference between the CD input and the phono input, as the phono input has an external amp or an extra amplifier creating extra noise, and I hear no change in the background whatsoever. It's almost like it's not switching functions. Okay, well that's our problem right here. This function switch is not working at all. Let's go remote. This is really weird stuff. Something with this tape monitor remote thing. I don't know. But we're picking up tuner on the CD and phono and AV. So there's something wrong with the function switch of this. I don't know if it's a mechanical switch or what, but we're going to have to figure that out. It seems like it's working otherwise. I just can't feed a tone into it or any other external signal. Let me try a few other inputs. Let me try phono. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's only going to work on tuner. I'll try a tape monitor input. Okay, connected to tape monitor 1. And we can't switch off of the tape monitor is not switching either, because I have it connected to number 1 here. Let's try. Yeah, nothing's working with these two, and possibly this one as well. I don't know how they have this configured, but we've got no control over our inputs. Alright, have the first look inside. We got some heat staining there. That's, I don't know what that spot is for. I think that spot is for this regulator here. It's pretty toasty. So that spot is the regulator. This spot here might be for the lamp. There's a lamp here on, you can't see it, but it's right here for the display. You have an incandescent lamp. So everything up top here is tuner. This is a tuner front end. We've got an LA13, no, sorry, LA1266. That's like a multiplex chip, I think. Power supply. It's got its own fuse. So, oh, it's got the green TK capacitors, just what I love to see. Here's an LA3410. I don't know if that's the multiplex or if this is, I'm not sure. This looks like it might be AM tuner down here, and this might be the AM chip. And this might be our multiplex. Power supply on this side. Make sure it's unplugged. Got a lot of exposed wiring here. And a fuse, power relay. There's a little tiny transformer right under here. So that suggests to me that that's a remote unit, like it's got a standby power supply, main power transformer. It's got thermal temperature sensor on your thermal cutout switch installed on the transformer to keep temperatures down. This transformer does look kind of small for what power we're pushing here. I don't know what kind of power this is supposed to be, but it does look like a fairly tiny transformer. So maybe they downsized that and they figured, oh, we'll just protect it with a thermal cutout. Main board underneath has your power amplifier along the back. Only two devices per output. Bulk filter capacitors is our bridge rectifier under here. So this is all amplifier, power supply, and I can't see what's under here. It's probably more signal processing and stuff. The back panel, we got our output board for speaker connections. This is our inputs. No, this is not our inputs. This is a video card. That's where the video is on this back here. And this is our tuner input. Tuner input's back here. And then they pipe the signal all the way up to the tuner front end. So on this side here we have a couple cards. This board here looks like it has a phono stage on it. And then it's got some other power supply, regulated power supply going on in there. And then it looks like this is part of our input board too. And then there's another board here. This looks like our tape monitor board. I don't see anything weird. Nothing's disconnected. There is a small motor on the volume control. So that suggests it's remote controlled. A little bit of dust in here, not bad. We have to figure out why we have no input or no tape monitor switching. Here's the top of the board. We can't really take this cover off and then the boards will be loose. It looks like everything's got connectors on them, so it should be fairly easy to service. I don't see anything unplugged, but for whatever reason we're not getting any control over our inputs or tape monitor. There's a small area here you can remove the bottom, and this is probably just access for the power amplifier and the bottom of the main board, so we'll get that off. So here's the bottom access, bottom of the main board. Gives you ample room to replace any fried transistors on the power amp. A lot of heat zone here, and here, and I can see a lot of cracks in this heat zone, so we'll have to address that. Everything else looks okay though. Okay, let's have a look at the schematic. Alright, here's a look at the block diagram for the 880 VXI. It has our inputs along the bottom here. It has phono, CD, AV, tape loop 1, tape loop 2, and then it has our outputs, VCR, well these are, oh this is all video, okay. Video monitor selector, yeah. So this section handles the video switching of it. This handles the audio switching of it. So we have phono, CD, AV coming in and goes to IC801 audio input selector switch. And we have, I believe this line here is from the tuner. Let me see if that's correct. Yeah. So this line here is coming down, it's going into IC801, that's the tuner input. That input is working. We can't switch between phono, CD, or AV. So something is wrong with 801 and IC802 audio input selector for tape 1, tape 2. Alright. And then we have IC803 input record out selector control. That didn't seem to be a problem. We don't know yet though. Something is not switching these two chips, 801 and 802. And I think they get their control from function LEDs. Where did they get their control from? Doesn't really show it here. I think this record out, function record out, so this is your switch right here, and this controls this chip. Where's the control for this chip? There's a lot of stuff, and we're going to have to dig deep into this one. 801 and 802, let's look for the schematic. So here's the block diagram for IC801, 802. This is an LC7818 audio input record out selector. So it's a stereo unit. It's got 4 switches on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 switches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches on each side. And this is our source. and then these would be our outputs. Or how does this work? This would be our inputs, and this would be our output source. And then this is an input-output control. There's a mute control timer, input-output. These are all flip-flop, level shift. Okay, we have to check and see if we're getting the right signals on that chip. Here's our circuit itself. This is IC801, IC803, 804. Where's 802? Doesn't show 802. Oh, 802 is down farther. Okay. 802 handles the tape loops, and 801 handles the inputs. So we're gonna have to check these two chips, make sure they got the correct voltage and they're getting the correct signals. It might be just a missing power supply for these two chips, and then that's why they're not switching in and out. Seems like they're all dead. And here's our switches. AV tuner remote. Okay. Have to check these connections as well. It might be just stuck on one. That wouldn't explain the other one though. So as far as I can tell, IC801 is on this card and 802 is on this one. So I want to check. I printed out the pinout for that chip. Just want to make sure they got all the right power supplies. There is a power supply in here. Make sure it's working. And we'll take it from there. In case you're wondering, this is going to get a full recap because these TK caps at this age are garbage. There's no point in trying to run with them because they're garbage. Okay, let's just put it that way. So yeah, I'm going to do a full recap on this, but I want to pinpoint what's going on with these input selector switches that aren't working. Okay, right here is the two transistors for this regulator that's on this card. I'm assuming it's a positive negative regulator. Let's see here. I don't know what this emitter, collector, base. So this should be base, I guess. Or maybe it's not. 50 volts, 49.8. The collector got negative 17.5 volts. And I think this is the emitter, 49.5. 49.5. It's 49.8. So a bit of difference there. And that's on the negative. Alright, now if I go to the other one and start probing, I get 0 on that pin. On the collector, I get negative 15. And then on this one, I get negative, or 0. So there's definitely an open here somewhere. This side is not working. And it might be a fusible link. Dead transistor, I don't know. Where does this power come from? From here? Is this it? Let's check this. 0. 0. Be careful here when I touch. Everything's 0 on that. I don't think that's the one. To figure out where the power comes in. Is it this? There you go. Negative 50 volts. Positive 50 volts. Okay. I can trace where this goes. This goes down here to this. 50 volts. Nothing. So that is open right there, whatever that is. And I think, yeah, it's a fusible resistor. Right there. Let's pull that card out and check that. It could be the cause of everything here. Okay, here's a look at the regulator. Let me get some better light on this. I don't know if that helps. This is the regulator on the card here. There's a little power supply in the center. Here's our switching chip. This is the LC7818. This one switches between our functions for us. This on top here looks like all phono stage. Look at these bulging caps here. I got a bulge cap here that's vented. I got a bulge cap here that's vented. And I'm assuming some of these other caps are garbage. Well, they're all garbage. They're TK caps. But that's interesting that we have two caps that are vented on us. And here's that resistor I was measuring across. It looks like it's a 4.7 ohm resistor. I don't know if you can see my meter here in the background. Oh, maybe I could put it over here. And you can see this. You can't really see it. I'll put it like this. How's that? You can see that. So let's check this resistor. And we're getting mega ohms. That resistor's open. So let's replace that resistor and see if we get our function control back. I have a feeling it will, but these caps got to go as well. So that's part of the problem. I'll just leave the dead caps in for now, and we'll change that resistor, that fusible resistor. I'm going to check in the manual, make sure it is 4.7 ohms, and then we'll replace it. Okay, I have a new resistor installed, put the board back in temporary, connected to source, connected speakers. We're going to test this just to see. Let's remove this. Let's move this over to, what do I have the input on? CD, I believe. Yeah, CD. Let's move this to CD. And let's turn this on. Give it a little bit of volume. Record out source. Turn it on. Yeah, there's our tone. You got still no function here. We used to have tuner, but now we don't even have tuner. Nothing has an effect. Wow. So maybe there's something more on that board that's wrong. Maybe we blew that. Let me spin this around. Maybe we blew that resistor when we powered it up. Don't short out. Let's check this one more time if we got voltage going through. You see that? Okay. So here's our inputs. That is ground, positive 50 volts, negative 50 volts. Negative 50 volts goes down here to this pin, and then to the resistor. It blew again. So we have a problem here with a short circuit somewhere in this circuit that's causing a high current draw. Could be the transistor. But you know what? Since I know what the problem is, I'm just going to ignore it for now, and we're going to go through and do recapping and stuff. Could be bad capacitors on this thing shorting out and causing that fusible link to just pop open. So I think I'm not going to waste any more time on troubleshooting. I'm just going to start ripping things apart and recapping and repairing. I know I got a problem on this board, so we'll deal with it. I got the tuner removed. You can start to see how it's getting baked here by these incandescent lamps. I'm going to replace these with LEDs, power supplies. Kind of getting cooked here too. There's cracked solders on that pass transistor. Everything else looks okay, aside from a little bit of dust. The LCD display is intact. And let's see there, the lamps inside, how black it gets. I'll put this aside. It's going to get recapped. This is a video switching card. Not much to it. A couple of electronic switches, some caps, some transistors. Not much happening here. It's an LC4966. I guess that's a video switching chip. And then we can get a look inside to see our power amplifier now. You see it. We got our driver transistors on these two heat sinks, power supply. It looks like the tone board is all passive components back here. This is bass and treble and balance. And then it looks like it comes into here on this cable, goes into the power amplifier. So they're doing probably on the feedback loop, they're probably doing tone compensation on the feedback loop. That's how they're doing that. Looks like we got a star ground there in the middle. Not much else. This card we know all about. This one here with the, I'm beginning to think it might be a shorted transistor or a shorted cap. These caps look pretty sad looking. I'm going to start replacing caps. Half of them are those TK ones, and half of them are the leaky Mashita caps from Panasonic, the ones that leak everywhere. So there's not much to it. There's our input boards and switching. That's where most of our caps are. We've got a little bit of caps on the power supply. Not too bad. Our main two filter caps are 10,000 microfarad at 63 volts. Front boards there, I really don't have anything on it. There's a couple of caps here in the corner. And then everything else is display. Display, I think. There's remote control here. And aside from that, everything's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to start recapping this card here. I'm going to see if I can figure out why the resistor must be a heavy load on that resistor. That's why it popped open again. Let's see if I can figure that out first. So I just went through and replaced a couple of these, all these 220 microfarad, 25 volts. Two of these have failed, so I replaced all 6. And I replaced this fusible resistor as well. I'm just going to check it for resistance now, and I got 47 ohms across there. Now I think I know what's wrong here. I think you've got 2 Zener diodes, one here, and this one measures normal. And this one here measures dead short. The Zener diode is kaput. That's an 18.2 volt Zener. And that's going to set up this regulator. I'm going to have to test these transistors too. Maybe these transistors are shot. Let me try this. Kind of working on the edge of the bench here. That shows 11 ohms there. I think that transistor might be okay. Let's try this one, the big one. That's showing 12 ohms. It's showing open. There's no shorts. If I go to diode mode, yeah, it's showing low resistance, but it's not shorted. So I think this diode here was the culprit. I'm going to replace it. I got a couple of 1 watts I can put in here. These here, a little beefier. These are, what are these? IN4746s. Alright, been doing lots of work here. Replaced all the caps. This is all of them. Now, I got a lot to say about these caps. We'll do that in a bit. Put that aside. These caps here I pulled out and tested, and they are absolutely fine. These are 10,000 at 63 volts, and they measure out at about 9,400, 9,600 microfarads. These are still good quality caps. They're going to go back on the board. I'm going to do that, glue them down. I've pretty much got everything finished and cleaned except for the bottom board. I still have to clean the bottom board, but everything's been recapped. These 2 boards here, they're done. Tuner is done, and I can install that. Tuner is done, and I can install this once the caps are back in place. So that's all good. This board here is the IR remote control. It's got some LEDs on here. This is done too. I replaced these caps. That can go back on. This card here is video switching. I'm not going to change these caps because I have no intention of using the video portion of this receiver. So I'll reinstall this. I don't even know if I'll connect it back up because, you know, this is just a power feed, and it takes its probably a couple wires to signal which input is the valid one, and that's all it does, is just switch between these video inputs, and it really has no effect on any of the audio portion. So I'm just going to put that back in just to fill the hole in the back. Now, oh, the lamping. I'm going to relamp this thing with LEDs. So I took this out. This thing's pretty cooked. I'll clean that up a bit. But where is the board? Yeah, the board's cooked too. You can see how dark it is. Now remove the lamps, put LEDs. And I'm going to, this was fed with an AC signal, and I'm going to rewire it so it's fed with the 16 volt supply here on this cap is 16 volts. So I can tap off this power on the bottom of this cap somehow. I can drill a hole, glue it in, or solder it in, and that'll be my supply for this lamp. These lamps are wired in parallel, and these are cold white, and then I have a 1200 ohm dropping resistor on the back, and that's going to be my lighting solution. So get that all back together, and then we'll be ready to do some set up the amplifiers, and then we're going to do testing. We're done. Okay, we're working on printed circuit board 5, equalizer PC board, and here's our two regulators. Power coming in, it looks like 41.2 volts coming in. Goes through a 47 ohm fusible resistor, and then it goes through your series pass transistor, and it's supposed to drop the voltage to negative 17.4 and positive 17.4. Look at that. And then we were missing our positive 17.4 because this resistor right here, R637, is open. 47 ohm fusible resistor. Okay, so this is the phono equalizer card. This is all phono stage here, a power supply in the center, and then we have some switching, input switching here. I think this is, I'm not sure what this chip does. This is hk880. So I think this is our input function switch. But anyway, I recapped it. A lot of these caps on here were dead, and they were cooked. This Zener diode was shorted. This fusible resistor was open. That was what I first found when I measured. This is the input power, plus minus 50 volts. This fusible resistor was open. This one was good. This Zener was shorted, but this Zener is not fused by this. This Zener is in series with a, what is it? A resistor here. I can't remember which one it is. I also found this transistor shorted. This is a 2SC2603. So I have 2SC2603 here, and I put a new one in. Pulled this transistor. This is the main pass transistor. It's a 2SB941. Tested good. Had a gain of around 250 or so. And then this 2SD1266. This is a negative supply here. So everything here is good. This was kaput. So 3 bad parts, and replaced them all. Let's see if this thing will work now. Alright, so I replaced the transistor, the Zener diode, and the fusible resistor on the positive leg of that power supply. Now, I'm going to power this up. We should have plus 19, minus 19 volts on our little regulated supply here. And that's going to feed the audio boards with power. That's what we were missing before. That's why we weren't getting any function switching. So we got a voltmeter here. We can see that. I think you can. Attach a ground. And let's turn on the power here. I'm going to connect to the collector of the positive supply. Let's turn it on. I'm getting 17.1. which is good. Before we were getting a negative voltage, and we were getting 0, and here we're getting negative 17. So our supplies are working, And let me see here. I think everything else started working too. Let me turn this around. And we now have LEDs on the front. We never had that before. Let me get this spun around so you can see it as well. If you can see this, let me zoom in a bit here. Let's do some switching. Look, it's responding to the switch. It is moving. So I think we're good. I think this one's working too. Excellent. So now we can button this up and finish our amplifier alignment, and then we'll get done some testing. So here's our bias adjustment, idling current, volume control minimum, speakers 1 and 2 on. Pressed speakers 1 and 2 switches on. Speaker auto operating mode is 8 ohms. Make an adjustment at room temperature 25 degrees. After power switch is pushed on, wait 30 minutes before measuring. Make sure most stable operation. Set function switch to tuner position. I don't know why they want that. But they're asking for between test point 1 and 2, they want 40 millivolts plus minus 2. And that's adjusted 401. And the other channel is test point 3 and 4, 40 millivolts. 40 millivolts seems high. I'm going to see if that's across both emitter resistors. Let me check. So here's a look at the output devices. We got our output devices, and then they have test point 1 and test point 2 is across both emitter resistors. So it'd be 20 millivolts across one or 40 across both. So let's go do that. We're connected across both emitter resistors on this channel. I don't know which is left or right, doesn't really matter. And let's power this on and let's see what we get. Seems to be climbing up pretty quick. Now the adjustment for this is kind of in a bad spot here. Looks like they punched holes in the board, but they missed for this pot. It's kind of buried under this bracket and this tuner board, and the other one's way down in the corner here. You can't really see it unless you get at a certain angle. I don't know if I can show you. Can you see it there, down in there? And then the other one is right here, right there. So, oh, look at it. We're climbing up to 95. Let's turn this down. So what we have for power consumption is pretty high. It's 46 watts. Okay, that's before we made any adjustments. So let's turn this one down. What is going on with this? Why is it so far crazy? This is really... Is it my meter? Look at this, it just goes nuts. It seems okay. Let's check the other channel. I don't know, I may have a problem with this amplifier. It seems to be all over the place. If that's the case, we got more repairing to do. Let's check this channel. $56. Okay, that's high. Let's turn it down. I got it on millivolts. It is not responding to my tweaking. Okay, we still got a problem here. What is wrong with my meter? Seems like it's freaking out. Okay, there's definitely something wrong with my meter, because when I turn up the current, watch when I turn it up, you'll see the wattage just jump. I'm cranking it now. See how it jumped up to 60 watts? Turn it back down. So it's working, but there's something messed up with my meter here. I'm going to have to figure it out. Give me a second. I'm just checking my leads here, and look at this. It's just all over the place. So I'm getting, I don't know what's wrong with my lead here, but it's got a bad connection inside, or move it a certain way. These leads aren't that old. I just made them up not even a year ago. Pretty bad. This is the black one. Seems to be a little better, but it's still really flaky. I don't know. Have to figure that out. Let's get some different leads. Alright, I figured out what was wrong. These little set screws on the connectors were loose. They didn't feel loose, but cranked them down and now it's stable. So we can go through and do this. I have connected across this channel and we're getting almost 60 millivolts. Let's turn this down to 40. Oh, wrong way. Let's turn this one down to 40. Do it on a little low side. It's been on for about 10 minutes now. I'm going to do it right to there and then let it stabilize. I'll check it again. Let's move our probes to the other channel. Okay, and we have 18 because I turned this one down. Let's turn this one up. The same value. Go there somewhere. And what do we have for consumption? We are now sitting at 39 watts idling. That's more realistic, not 45 or 50. So I'll let this stabilize. They said half an hour. I'm going to let this stabilize for half an hour and then we'll come back and tweak it up and then we'll move on to power test. Alright, ready for a power test? Let's turn this thing on. Now I am set up for 8 ohms on the back. Let's turn it up. And let's test this thing. Okay, there's a hard clipping right there. Let's back it off. I'm going to say right at that point right there. And that is 23.93 volts RMS. Okay, good enough. That's full power. Start our timer. And we are consuming 280 watts here. And let this go for a while. Let's see how it does. I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure the rail voltages under full load. Let's do this right now. It's 76.4 volts. And 5 minutes in, we got a lot of heat going on here. This has gone over 60 degrees because I can't hold my hand on it. You hear a funny noise like something's cracking and sizzling. I think it's just things heating up and expanding, but I'm getting this here. Some of these transistors are getting quite hot. This one here was over 75 degrees, 60 degrees. This one here doesn't really show up on the aluminum heatsink. Just gonna let it go. If it survives 10 minutes, all the better for it. But see, you hear popping and crackling noises. I think it's just expanding. We're at 6.5 minutes. Okay, we're coming up to 10 minutes. I'm getting a peak reading on these transistors at around 80, well actually, 96, 97 degrees Celsius. That one there is really hot. This one's a lot better. This one, 70. But I think we're doing okay here. It didn't blow up. Let's turn it down. I'll cool it off and then we'll do our square wave test. Alright, we got square waves coming in. Let's take a look at them. So we got base cut, base boost, treble cut, treble boost, looking pretty good. Balance, ooh, still balance is scratchy. I had that pot out and cleaned it too. This is our input, no, tape monitor, VCR tape monitor. So we're on source, okay. That's good. We're on CD, and there's the tuner. That's phono. No, that's AV. This is phono. A little bit of bleed through on phono. So let's go back and let's turn up the frequency here. There's 10 kilohertz. Looking pretty good. Let's keep going. Now we're starting to lose our square wave. Right about here somewhere, that's 26 kilohertz. 26. That's 67 kilohertz. Lost it altogether. Yeah. It's actually not bad. 10 kilohertz. Here's one. Does pretty good on the square wave, I gotta say. Okay, what I've done here is I separated the caps into two piles. These are all the caps I replaced. These ones you could still run with. They're still okay. They're still holding their value. They have relatively decent ESR. And like I said, you could still run with some of these. And these ones have all failed. These ones are completely shot. A lot of these have, for example, let's pick one of these out. A 25 volt, 22 microfarad. This measures down around 5 or 6 microfarad and a really high ESR, like in the 100 ohm range. These caps are done, but also, even though these caps are still in the receiver, it was still working. So, yeah, a lot of these are garbage. Well, they're all garbage. Now, you're going to notice that there's two types of caps here. They're the green TK, and there's the purple TK. These are purple. These purple ones held up okay. These green ones, not so much. There's like some exceptions. Some of these green TKs are still okay. And these blue ones are all Mashita caps. So all of these held up really well too. And there's not very many that failed. There's one that failed here because it had corrosion on the leg. That's why I failed it. But the other ones, these are all okay. So yeah, these green TK caps are pretty much garbage. Anytime you see them, pull them out and replace them. Don't even bother testing them. So 49% of the caps failed. 51% of the caps still working, still performing. You could probably run with them, but how do you know which one's which? Just from looking at the receiver, you can't tell by looking at them. So get them all out, get them all replaced, put all brand new caps in, and you'll have peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about bad sound coming out of it, and you don't have to worry about short life. Well, that's it for this one. Went together nicely, and I think it's a nice receiver. I'm really pleased with its performance. I'm not pleased with its construction. It's okay. I do like the electronic switches that they use for switching between the functions. It eliminates the scratchiness and the dropouts from the switch itself. But as you see, it caused other problems. Failed power supply that was on the phono board causes havoc in all the other areas of the receiver. And funny thing is, I went on Audio Karma and I was reading about these 880 VXIs, and there's one guy on there that was posting the same issue that I experienced here. The function switch wouldn't work. It was stuck on CD, and he was getting distortion on some of the inputs on the tape monitor inputs and stuff. So yeah, he was asking for help, and that was a few years ago. But if I would have known, I would have done this years ago and had this thing fixed. But it seems like it's a common fault. The power supply on that phono board fails. I don't know if the Zener shorted or the transistor failed, but between the two of them, it knocked out the power supply, the positive rail power supply, and caused all that havoc and non-worky. But it's working good now. I'm going to wrap this one up. Got more stuff to do, so I got to move on, and take care. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Faces